Welcome to Dream by Design with Melissa Banks, where women share their dreams, struggles, and successes. How they were able to persevere despite the fear and create the life they want and deserve. If you're looking for inspiration to move you past where you normally would stop, then this is the show for you. Here's your host, Melissa Banks.
Welcome to Dream by Design with Melissa Banks. I'm excited you could be with us today. I'm your host, Melissa Banks. We continue our Women Who Write series featuring some amazing women who share their journey with us and how they were able to keep going despite the circumstances. Today, our guest is speaker, author, stylist, and life coach, Marsha McCray. Thank you, Marsha, for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on board with you.
I'm excited to talk to you today, Marsha, to hear about your journey and so that our audience can hear what I've already seen in your book if they haven't gotten your book. So I'm excited to talk with you. First of all, I just wanted to ask you, did you always want to be an author, or was this something that you didn't expect? How did you end up writing this book?
The answer to did I always want to be an author, the answer was no. That was the furthest thing from my mind. The book came about by daily entries in my phone. I actually wrote the entire book on my phone. And it was a conversation to myself. And before long, I probably had about 500 entries. And I was thinking, I'm like, I think all of this is a book. I mean, I had to get it edited and I had to get it formatted and go through it and, take some things out if the tone was too harsh, take some names out because they would know who they were. and it just grew into that. I had no idea whatsoever that I was going to be an author. Yeah, it just came about.
That's amazing. I say all the time that sometimes my heart, something would happen, and I would say my heart just didn't even know to dream that. And so when you say that the way it happened, that's what made me think about it. You didn't dream it. You didn't think of it because your heart didn't even know to do that. But God did, and he knew you had a lot to share. Well, how did the title Living Intentionally come about? How were you inspired to name it that?
I was brainstorming with an editor. And we were just talking, and I was talking about my intentional journey and how I wanted to live. And then those words just kind of rang. And I'm like, that's it. That's my purpose. That's what I've been doing. And living intentionally is the process of you making the decisions before the decisions make you, for you to take control over your life before circumstances make the decisions for you. It gives you more power than you admit that you have or that you even know that you have. Living intentionally is a purposeful journey towards your purpose and your destiny and your vision. And that's all that I was doing. And I'm like, that's it. Living intentionally. And that's how the name came about, the purposeful seasons of your life, because the book is written into seasons. It's not written in chapters like a traditional book was and is. I couldn't get the concept of a chapter because I had so many entries. But each entry had a certain tone. One tone may be really encouraging, really fresh. It talks about a renewed mind, and that will be symbolic of spring. And then there's another entry that may be fun and joyful and aggressive in a good way. And that tone may be that of summer. But there may be a different entry, Melissa, that spoke about releasing things that you should not have, letting some things fall off or seeing the true colors in a person or individual. That would be symbolic of autumn. And then we get to winter. Winter is that frigid place, that cold place. It may be symbolic of the winter of your life, or may be symbolic of the frigidness and the bad attitude. It may be symbolic of that. So each page or each entry has a different tone. So I just gathered them into their tones in each season, and that's where the title, the co-title, The Purposeful Seasons of Your Life comes from.
I found that very interesting. Actually, I had wrote that down to actually talk about that, so thank you for including that. But I found that very interesting, the way it was broken down, and to me it made it an easier read to have it broken down like that, and it gave me a really good understanding. But I also thought that was unique. I had not seen that done before, so thank you so much for sharing that.
Yay! Thank you.
I did want to say that if you're just joining us today, you're listening to Dream by Design with Melissa Banks. Today, our guest is speaker, author, stylist, and life coach, Marsha McCray. Now, another thing, Marsha, that I noticed when I started with your book is you end certain sessions with the word shalom. And honestly, I have to tell you, that stood out for me for many reasons that I won't share here, but I was just wondering, as I picked it up, I saw that you shared a powerful story that connects that word and why you use that word. And I just would love for you to share that with our audience.
Living Intentionally Daily Devotional, Volume 2 is what you're reading. There's a Volume 1. And in Volume 1, I ended each entry with shalom. But what I realized is that the reader doesn't, unless you're Hebrew or Jewish or, or study different cultures and religions, you pretty much wouldn't know what shalom may mean. But I put the meaning in the title, and actually I didn't even elaborate as much as I actually could have with the meaning of shalom, because it encompasses so much more than what I wrote. I was trying to keep it down to under 2 pages. But it's a word that my father often tells me when we hang up the phone. And he'll say goodbye, Marsha, shalom. And he said that for a long time. And so one day he was like, Marsha, do you know what shalom means? I'm like, nah, Daddy, but you say it. And then he goes into this teaching. And I realized at that moment that was a very sacred moment in the relationship with my father and I. I realized that even at my age, as old as I am, I was going to be able to cherish that experience, that conversation. Because as much as I think my daddy is invincible and he can conquer the world, I have to acknowledge that my dad is human. And he's not going to always be here. So I literally remember oftentimes when my dad talks to me about sacred conversations, I often close my eyes just so I could just take everything and every word in. I could remember this, 20 years after he's gone or 50 years. I just want to be able to remember him. And he goes and he tells me. He tells me so passionately how shalom is this Hebrew word that has so many meanings. So when the Jewish culture, when they say goodbye to each other with shalom, they're literally saying, I'm blessing you with peace. I'm blessing you with wealth and prosperity. I'm blessing you with wholeness. I'm showering you. They're literally going in on the most beautiful and generous list of blessings. But the one word is shalom. And my father and I now, when we hang up, our last words are always shalom.
Wow, that is so special. Thank you for sharing that. I did want to ask you, as your readers pick up Living Intentionally Daily Devotional, what is it that you would want them to take away from the experience of reading your book?
I would want them to take away, good question, thank you, Melissa. I would want them to take away, I want them to acknowledge every emotion that they're having. For example, I was communicating with a woman who informed me after 25 years of marriage, her husband wants a divorce. And I knew she was hurting. And sometimes the initial response will be, oh, it's going to be okay, it's going to get better, cheer yourself up. My response to her was, experience your emotion. Experience that emotion. That emotion was a winter. Experience that emotion so you don't have to revisit it again, because I did not want her to live in this place for years and days, years, weeks, months. I didn't want her to do that. So as each reader reads a season, whether you start off in spring or if you just open it up in autumn and go from there, I want them to understand the emotion and the feeling and the meaning of each page, because each entry actually has a whole message. Every entry has a complete message, whether it's talking about I write about Deion Sanders. I'm a Deion Sanders fan, and this is before he came to Jackson State University. And I talk about his longtime girlfriend, Tracy Edmonds, and how in an interview he states she brings more to the table than a plate. The message in that entry, and I go on to explain it, is that you get so many people that's coming with to take something and not to bring anything, and how our feast could be so much more bountiful as if everyone contributed versus their to-go containers. I write about so much. I write in pain. If I was feeling that pain, if I was feeling that hurt, I wrote about it. I know I'm not the only person who went through it. My life has not always been a beautiful spring and summer. There have been the betrayals of autumn, and people had to get up out my life. There's been a painful life experience and heartbreak of winter. I had to experience that too, but I felt all of it, because when I was done with it, I was done with it. And my prayer is that each person experiences their season, especially if it's a winter. They experience it and they make their way back to spring.
Oh, that is so powerful. I found that one of the easy things to me about the book is that you could flip through it and you can feel yourself going through something, and you can literally flip through it and go to that and read about that and be encouraged there. And you don't necessarily have to read it from front to back. So I did like that about it. So one of the things I saw, not in the book, yeah, I like that. But one of the things I saw that you said, not in the book, I believe it was on your social media, and you said that sometimes the fourth quarter is the best part of the race. Talk to us about what you meant by that.
We're in the fourth quarter right now. We're at the end of the year. We're in the last 100 or so days of 2021. We are in that fourth quarter. And if you think about a relay, you have your runners and everyone on the team is qualified, but that coach is going to put his strongest runner at the last leg. And I remember seeing a clip just yesterday of a relay, and this girl should have lost. I mean, the person was, and they even titled it the biggest comeback ever. She was pretty much almost a half lap behind. And that girl came through after 2 laps in the final, and she won the race like she was behind. Maybe March and April just did not go good. Perhaps June and July you couldn't catch up. August kind of seemed skeptical, and you almost kind of lost your ambition. But now we hit that fourth quarter. You kept on going. Now we take that into another gear. You take that in another gear, you dig deep, and you go forward. You start accomplishing and forgiving yourself for being, what is the word I'm looking for not accomplishing your task in a timely manner, or for procrastinating, that's the word, for procrastinating. Forgive yourself, move forward. Those visions and vision boards you created in January, look at it again. Those lists in your journals that you wrote that you wanted to accomplish, revisit again and get busy. If you're intentional about each minute of your day, if you can account for all your time, you can get more accomplished than you think you can. And that's my goal with living intentionally, is that the readers are able to take away from that. And that's what I meant in that post, the social media post, about the fourth quarter being the best part of the race.
Wow, that is powerful. That is inspirational as well, because I talk often about intentions and being intentional. I'm on this group, on this panel with some other co-hosts, and I probably say that every single episode at least once, is that when you're intentional, you can make things happen. If you get up haphazardly, you're not going to move forward, because that's the first thing that jumped out to me when I looked at the title on your book, Intentionally, and I thought that is so huge. So thank you for that. Let me ask you, Marsha, though, about your challenges that you face as a female author, female entrepreneur. You wear a lot of different hats. So tell me, share with us if you face any challenges because you're a female, and how do you overcome them?
I don't think I face challenges because I'm female. I think I face challenges because I'm human. I face challenges because it's part of the journey. If there were no challenges, we really wouldn't have a reason to have faith and to submit. If there were no challenges, we would really think it was just us who did it and who accomplished it all. Mm-hmm. When I have these challenges, I know that there's a lesson in it, and I experienced that lesson. And I'm always grateful. I'm always saying, Lord, thank you. Thank you for this experience. Thank you for the wisdom I'm able to gain from this moment, because it wasn't me who figured it out. It was him. It was him through me, and I'm grateful. So the challenge is a humbleness. A challenge is a reality, and a challenge is a reminder of who holds it all. Is it because I'm female? Nah, not at all. That's not at all. It is because I'm human.
Because you're human. You know, when we wear a lot of hats like you do a lot of different things and have a lot of stuff happening, sometimes it's not happening fast enough. Sometimes you're working really hard and it's standing still seemingly. Or maybe a lot of stuff is happening and we're feeling overwhelmed because it's all coming at us at one time. When you have those moments, how do you center yourself and stay on track and get yourself back on track maybe during those times?
I keep a list. There's a little composition book that I think we all had in high school. Dollar General has them for like $1, and I have a lot of them. And I always have one with me, and I feel overwhelmed or I have so many things to do. I just write them all out. And another thing I like to do is the night before, I write a list of the things I want to have accomplished the following day. That way I wake up with a plan. I'm not waking up, lounging in bed, staring at the ceiling. I know exactly what I want to do. I'm going to wake up, thank God that I have another day to prove myself worthy. I'm going to wake up and know that there's a list of things for me to do. And then I'm going to determine in which order I'm going to do it. And what I'm able to accomplish is what I'm able to accomplish. And what I can't, I just can't. There's only one me. But what I did know is that I did my best. And there's no regret in that.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny you talked about the composition books because I love the composition books. I tried different things for writing my list, and I always came back to the composition books. And now I have like a drawer full, and recently I found these really cute bling out ones that I just love. But it's nothing that's going to replace that composition book. And I have some other friends that do that with their to-do list as well, so that's funny that you said that. But you're right. When you have that list, it gives you a sense of direction. My list is always long. It's much longer than I know I can get done in that day, but I know that I worked toward it, I did my best, and I moved forward. So I definitely agree with you on that.
Well, I have a suggestion, Melissa. Research has said if you place 7 things, just 7, prioritize 7. No matter how long your list is, only choose your top 7. And that way you have a higher chance of accomplishing everything. You'll have a sense of accomplishment. You won't be frustrated. You won't feel like you're behind, but you've prioritized your list. Only 7. That's it. Not 8, not 6. Only 7. And perhaps 7. You're able to,
That's awesome. Okay, Marsha, right here I would like for you to take a moment and talk directly to our audience. She's a female. She's gone through some things, but she has a desire to write a book, but she just hasn't been able to take her journey and be able to push the start and just get started. So I want you to talk directly to her, and what would you say to her right now?
Well, I'm glad you gave me that scenario because that is my specialty as a life coach. There's an app called Couch to 5K where you take this person who's a non-runner, who is literally just on the couch, and by the end of the series of this app, they're able to run a 5K, which is about 3.2 miles. I'm kind of like that as a coach. I could take you off your couch towards your purpose. And I often get clients who feel stuck or they don't know which way to go or they may be intimidated about the process. Let's just develop a strategy. I ask everyone, what do you want? What makes you happy? And then we go from there. I also ask them, what do you want to accomplish? We start there and we work our way down. We develop a timeline, a strategy, and we are able to know exactly what we need to do when we need to do it. There's so much that's possible when you are accountable for your time and you are living with intention. The process is a process, and there may be hiccups along the way, and that's okay. That's part of the journey. There's rarely a time where you are making a journey and you may not hit a valley. You may not get a detour, but you're going to make it to your final destination because that's always have a comforter and a guide beside you. That's the Holy Spirit. And there will be no harm that ever comes before you because He won't allow it. Accept the journey, the hiccups and the valleys that come with it. And when you get there, ask yourself, what am I supposed to learn from this experience? And continue to move forward because there's so much more for you to do. That's what I would say to her.
Wow. Oh, wow, that was so powerful. This conversation was absolutely amazing, Marsha. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Melissa, for the honor.
So much inspiration. You're welcome. Now, before you go, though, I want you to let our audience know how they can stay connected to you.
You can email me at livingintentionallycoach@gmail.com. livingintentionallybook@gmail.com. My Facebook name is Living Intentionally Daily Devotional, and my Instagram name is Living Intentionally Devotional. And if you contact me on any of those platforms, I would love to communicate with you. My business number is 832-429-6169. Thank you again, Melissa, for having me on your platform. It is a complete, and our conversation has been absolutely amazing.
Thank you again for being here today. And thank you to our audience for tuning in to today's edition of Dream by Design. I'm your host, Melissa Banks, saying all your dreams are possible. Believe in yourself, work hard, and don't quit. Until next time, thank you for choosing Dream by Design with Melissa Banks. Enjoy your day.